Love to listen in the morning. Jimmy Lakey on the radio. I got my coffee and cream. Jimmy's on the air. Wake up and start your day. Now go and tell all the neighbors, yeah. Then crank up the radio. There's infotainment, brilliant to get you on your way. Wake up and start your day with Jimmy Lakey.
Well, I think this microphone's on. It means it's time to get the show going, my friends. Welcome to the program. The 8th day of May, year of our Lord, 2025. Good to have you here in the house of Lakey. Glad to have you. Lakey is Unleashed. If you're new to the program, or maybe you're listening later, not watching it live, but you're listening in the podcast platform, I got to say this to you, my friends. I hope you're doing well, and glad to have you. My name is Jimmy, unleashed from the confines of corporate radio, and here we gather together and celebrate together, celebrate America, get up to date on some news of the day, information, entertainment, and all the things that we do for the next hour or just a little bit over today. Today is a Thursday edition of the show, so make sure you listen to the very end. We will wrap up today's broadcast with Jay Ratliff, our aviation and travel expert, always a hot commodity and a very popular guest on the show. Jay Ratliff will be with us later on in the program. And also John O'Connor, you might remember him, the famed attorney that was Watergate's, or Deep Throat's attorney during the Watergate era. He'll be with us in this hour as well. So don't miss a portion of the program. Good to have you here. Nice to have you tuned in, listening in. And those of you who watch it live, you're welcome that I could look this good for you. And I hope none of you look too much at the screen, because I know some of you would stumble in your walk with the Lord. So some of you, it's just better to listen to the podcast later on so you don't have to see this. And because then you just get to hear this. And that in and of itself could cause you to stumble. Just depends on... Never mind. All right, good to have you. All right, let's dive into some topics. By the way, I learned this morning that... I guess this whole week has been a small business appreciation week. I did not know that. As a man who has run many small businesses, I have to say I was not aware that it was Small Business Appreciation Month, but Donald J. Trump has declared it as Small Business Appreciation Day. Small Business Appreciation Day. I saw the Fox and Friends were out on location in Nashville, Tennessee, and they were interviewing the small business administrator, and they were in small businesses in Nashville live on the Fox and Friends show. That's the only reason I knew it. I saw it flashed across the bottom of the screen, and I said, oh, who knew that this is Small Business Appreciation Week. So here's what I'm going to allow you to do as our question of the day. If there is a favorite small business, maybe it is yours. Maybe it's just a small business that you like doing trade with or go to the restaurant at, or just a small business you would like to give a shout out to. Anywhere across America, if you go to the chat room right now on all the platforms, you go to the Facebook feeds, you go to the Twitter feeds, you go to the Rumble feeds, put up your favorite small business, give them a shout out, and we'll promote all of the favorite small businesses across America. Of course, a lot of you listen in Colorado because of my years in Colorado radio and media. So you're welcome to just comment on your favorite small business in Colorado. Give it a shout out if you're in Wyoming, if you're in Arkansas, Missouri. Those of you watching down in Texas, those of you out in New York watching it, your favorite shout out to small businesses. And as they pop up on the screen, as time allows, I will shout them out on the microphone. That way, those who listen later in the day, only on the podcast, also hear about your favorite small business. So in order to show our appreciation for the entrepreneurs out there and the small business owners out there, I have to tell you, give a shout out and we'll watch those on the screen. And we will also show our appreciation today for the small businesses America that help make America great. So your favorite small business, your neighborhood store, your neighborhood mechanic, your neighborhood restaurant, whatever the case may be, your small business. I see the first one popping in. Linda has said that she wants to give a shout out to Hank's Pet Food Market in Loveland, Colorado. So Hank's Pet Food Market in Loveland, Colorado. Good morning, and glad to have you shouting out Hank's Pet Food Market in Loveland, Colorado. I think Hank sells pet food is what I'm gathering. So that's how we're going to do it right there. Linda, thank you. You jumped into the deep end and you let us know that that's a small business to shout out. Hank's Pet Food Market in Loveland, Colorado. One of my small businesses, my most successful, is probably my music business. That's how we built the Lakey Entertainment Towers that you oftentimes hear me allude to. And that was, of course, concert promotion, managing publishing rights for artists, some artist management, but we filled arenas with concerts for many years. And I was once, when I was running for Congress, called the Barry Fay. And those of you in Colorado know the name Barry Fay of Christian music. So you're welcome. But that was back in the day. That's how we built the Lakey Entertainment Tower. So small businesses out there, we give them a shout out to everybody. Here's another one. Dave Andrews Maintenance Services in Fort Collins, Colorado. So shout out to Dave Andrews Maintenance Service in Fort Collins, Colorado. He's a maintenance guy, maintains stuff. See, I'm smart like this. I'm picking up on what they do. Pet food and maintenance. Oh, see, you're participating here. Answer of the day, Ken's Auto Electric. His boss, Johnny, rocks. That's it's a Cat's Auto Electric. Cat's Auto Electric. And Johnny's the boss there, and evidently he's a pretty good boss. Got to be a good boss. If that's where Obnoxious Scott works, it's got to be a good boss to tolerate some of that stuff. That's all I'm going to say about that. All right, so that's how it's going to work throughout the morning. Give out a shout out. It can be your small business, someone else's small business, and we'll shout out small businesses throughout the course of the morning. All right, here's your papal update. I did not receive a call yesterday to be, of course, you have to be a baptized Catholic male to be the Pope, and so therefore I can't. I guess I'm not eligible, but that's okay. It's okay. I'm still watching for the smoke. They've had three flames of black smoke go up. They had 2 today so far. They were breaking for lunch earlier. And they also have a black smoke yesterday. So the black smoke means they have not come to a 2/3 vote on a consensus. So there's 2 more votes today, but there ain't no Pope yet. We're still missing the Pope. The Pope is missing. If anybody finds the Pope, well, if they discover a Pope during the show, I will let you know. I will let you know for a show that you do that. I just told Cat's Auto Electric up in Scottsdale, Wyoming, I believe. And he talked about his boss being great. And I said, well, his boss must be pretty great to have to put up with Scott's crap all the time. And Scott replies, he almost fell down laughing at your comment. He probably also fell down laughing at your work ethic. That may be part of, sorry, I jest. You're a very hard worker, I know. All right, here we go. Another shout out, small business appreciation. Chelly's Restaurant in Palmdale, California. Chelly's Restaurant in Palmdale, California. Producer Chad, do we have any travel budget? We may need to go check out said restaurant in Palmdale, California. There's no Pope yet, and there's no travel budget yet. So Producer Chad and I are not going to be able to make it out to Palmdale, California. But hey, I like that. Put it on the list of places that one day we'll go to Palmdale, California, and Producer Chad and I will be the discoverers of whether it's fantastic food. Okay, so we got no Pope yet. There's a big announcement coming at the White House any moment now, supposedly starting about right now, and that is a trade deal. Remember, everybody was in a tizzy that Donald Trump didn't know what he was doing with the trade deal, and he was going to spin us all up into a recession. Well, evidently, there's a trade deal. It's going to be announced today with the United Kingdom, Great Britain, that it is a full and complicated and yet complex, comprehensive, I think is the word they use, trade deal. So we have a trade deal being announced today. And in that trade deal, we will, I'm sure, now that the first template of a trade deal is put together, I have a feeling there's going to be a lot of copy and paste and continue to put out the information on the trade deal. So that's being announced today. Now, watch how the markets react to that. The markets usually react when they know that there's a trade deal because the markets like to freak out a little bit just at the thought of a tariff. But the United Kingdom, Great Britain, and the United States are announcing a comprehensive trade deal between them and us. And so congratulations to both sides for coming to a quick agreement. And we're going to be doing some good trade with Great Britain and the United Kingdom. Speaking of the United Kingdom, I have a question today. Today is the 8th day of May, year of our Lord 2025. It's actually Victory in Europe Day. It is the day that we celebrate the ceasefire, the armistice, the peace that broke out in Europe after WW2. 80 years ago today is the day that we celebrate that. It's the day that the word spread around the world that there was a ceasefire, an armistice that had been signed and reached with the Germans, and that was 80 years ago today. It's Victory in Europe Day. And Europe had celebrations all weekend. There were parades. They had all sorts of just a joyous celebration. But you know that they're also very thankful for America because America saved their hide during WW2. My question is, and 80 years later, they're still celebrating VE Day in Europe, which is great. Why don't we celebrate that here? I was even looking at in media prep. You can go to the websites and they say, this day in history, what happened? And on this day in history, I'm going through the American site and there's no mention of VE Day, Victory in Europe Day. There is absolutely, positively no mention of it. There's no celebration of it. I think it's something that we should celebrate. Now, I'm going to pull from the cobwebs of my mind, if I may, for right now, that the armistice was actually, if I'm not mistaken, I'm pulling from the cobwebs as a history guy. It was signed the day before. It was signed earlier. The armistice, actually, Victory in Europe Day, was actually, I believe, the 7th day of May. And yet they couldn't announce it and weren't supposed to announce it because Joseph Stalin, had his panties in a bunch that he wanted to be there for the announcement and for the photo opportunity. And so VE Day was actually May 7th. That's when the armistice was signed, but it was announced on May the 8th. And so think of the iconic moment in history. Remember the Times Square photos? They're celebrating in Times Square. The iconic people holding up papers, the man kissing the woman, epic photos. That was all on this day 80 years ago today. So VE Day, and I just have a question. I don't think it's ever really been celebrated. You hear about it sometimes, but in Europe, they have parades, or Great Britain over the weekend. They reviewed the troops. They did all sorts of celebration of it. And for most people, if you weren't listening to this program, you would not know that today is VE Day. So happy Victory in Europe Day, celebrating 80 years ago today. We have that the Europeans had their asses saved by the Americans, and the Germans walked away and cried and surrendered. So anyway, VE Day. I'm just curious why we don't celebrate that here in America. All right, it's National Small Business Week. So Marvina says the cupboard is a small business. Also, Fort Collins Memory Lanes and Windsor Warm Hugs in Greeley. So these are some small businesses wherever you're at. We had a shout out from Palmdale, California a moment ago. There's one about Fort Collins. We have one in Greeley, Colorado, Loveland, Colorado. We had a Wyoming shout out. Name your favorite small business, and I will be sure to mention it this morning as you shout out your favorite small business wherever you're at. Across America, we'll shout out your small business. Missouri, do you have any small businesses you want to give it a shout out to? Texas, what about you? You got to get those shout outs. And again, type them up, put them in the chat room, and then I'll read them, because if they hear the audio, they will also get a shout out in the podcast portion of the program. All right, it's very curious just why we don't celebrate VE Day. A couple of months from now, we'll celebrate VJ Day, and that's Victory in Japan. And we just don't celebrate those here. It's weird. The Europeans still celebrate them, and I think we should. President Trump actually said this week that we should start celebrating VE Day. And I just don't historically even know why as a student of history, why it is that we don't celebrate. It's just strange to me that the Europeans, especially, have great pomp and circumstance, even 80 years later. And in America, it is nary a mention. All right, other news I want to get to, kind of a roundup, and keep those small businesses popping up on the screen. I'll check back here in just a moment. I'm shifting away from that screen for just a moment. Later on the program, we have Jay Ratliff, our aviation and travel expert. And it's kind of scary. We talked about what's happening at the Newark Airport and Liberty Airport. I think it's the Newark Liberty. And I mentioned my own personal experience flying out of there on my way to Africa many times last year, and how it was always delayed. I don't like that airport, but it's one of the hubs that United Airlines uses to get over to Europe. That's how they do it. So I have to fly that airline or that through that airport. Sorry, mute mic, but I don't have a camera off, so we have to listen to that. So watch me cough. The cold's going away much better than I was last week, much better. So the Newark Airport is a disaster, and the air traffic controllers have said last week, they actually lost contact, and they released the audio of these air traffic controllers going, "I can't see you. I don't have you on radar. I don't know where you're at. Don't do it." I mean, it's scary moments. And I had flight attendants last year that I'm sitting there flying, and they were telling me how they hate flying out of Newark because it's always delayed. They feel it's unsafe. They said there's something wrong with this tower here, and we're not exactly sure what it is. Well, here's the story. Transportation Secretary, by the way, United has now stopped a lot of flights out of there. They're really trimming back, rethinking what they're going to do in Newark. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy is outlining his short and long-term initiatives to address the, quote, the burning issues in the country's airspace. He told Newsmax on Tuesday that the Trump administration is going to try to rebuild the entire infrastructure, but needs bipartisan support. But in the long term, Duffy says the administration is going to build new air traffic control system. In the short term, new fiber is being laid to fix the problems that have plagued Newark for the past week. The fiber is going to be installed at the Philadelphia airport because I guess they use being copper wire has been a problem. But one of the most scary things is basically Duffy also said this could happen again. He basically says the Newark outage can happen again and again. And he says, we got to get this fixed, and we got to get it fixed quickly. He says, we're going to get new radars, new radios, new sensors on the tarmac, new infrastructure around telecom, going from copper to fiber. All of the things that make air traffic control system great, we're actually going to implement here. And so it sounds like it's a very outdated, backdated system. And the warning from the air traffic control or from the transportation secretary is that, hey, this could happen again. What happened in Newark last week is not an anomaly, and it could be happening again and again. And that's some scary warning right there. We'll talk to Jay Ratliff about this later on the program. Jay Ratliff, our aviation and travel expert. That's frightening stuff. If you're flying, and I fly quite a bit, to know that it makes you wonder how many times there's been problems between the cockpit on my flights and air traffic control, but they never got to an emergency level, so no one really knew about it. It's just very peculiar about this. Now, anytime you see a situation like this, air traffic control, it sounds like, and we're running the same technology that they were running 80 years ago in World War II. It's really outdated. You have to ask yourself, why is it so outdated? And why are we so far behind? Well, there's a news story at Fox News. It gives us just that answer, and I will give you that answer right now. The answer is why the Biden administration, knowing that the infrastructure of our air traffic control system was falling apart, headline, Biden administration prioritized engineering over air traffic safety, according to key reports. All this DEI and DEI staffing got baked into the cake, said Representative Nick Langworthy, talking to Fox News Digital. So if you wonder, as you hear Sean Duffy explain the air traffic control problem from Newark to Philadelphia, and they say it could happen again, it's a very dangerous situation out there between air traffic and some of these air traffic control towers. The chairman of the House Armed Aviation Safety Caucus says the Biden administration helped fuel the current air traffic control crisis by its choice to fund progressive diversity initiatives instead of modernizing the aging system. Representative Langworthy of New York told Fox News Digital that the former administration's marquee bill, the bipartisan infrastructure bill, was among the several missed opportunities to fund a revamp of the air traffic control system. Langworthy from New York said this was before I came to Congress, but you had just mistaken priorities. all this DEI policy, DEI staffing, all the things that got baked into the cake. They could have taken that money and spent it on real modernization of critical infrastructure in this country, but they did not. He said, we had the longest period of incident-free aviation in country's history, where we didn't have a commercial air crash for some time, from the time it happened in Buffalo in my district back in 2009 to just this year, and then what happened at Reagan Airport. So they're saying that, hey, if you're wondering how we ended up in this air traffic control system being such a mess, that all the emphasis, at least in Biden's administration, was all on equity and diversity and inclusion, and it wasn't about upgrading. So when they had the infrastructure bill that they all heralded and said how it's going to really help our infrastructure. By the way, remember the infrastructure bill? Is there anybody out there that can say that the infrastructure has visibly improved for you? I mean, as a Coloradoan, I'm telling you, our infrastructures have gone to hell in a handbasket, not just from state funding of it and fixing it, but the federal dollars, I don't know where those are at. We're still 20, 30 years behind on infrastructure here in the great state of Colorado. Anybody who drives on the highways here knows that. Just the infrastructure, the setup. There's one way in the city, one way out. It's a mess. Where this Denver is built for bottleneck. Everything's a bottleneck because everything's on one road. So that's a problem. But has anybody noticed an infrastructure improvement in your area based on the Biden administration bragging that they're going to fix the infrastructure? And then we find out that the infrastructure that they could have fixed in air traffic control towers, now that money went for education and diversity and equity and inclusion. And don't forget all the money that we wasted, not on upgrading our air traffic control safety, but all that money that we spent on circumcising those in Mozambique. That was very important work for USAID. Very important work. DEI and circumcision, all top priorities for the Biden administration of wasting money. That's scary. Duffy says it could happen again. I've got a flight in a couple of weeks, a return flight to Texas. I'm plotting my next trip to Africa. I desperately need to get there. And it makes me, I'm going to have to start working on that. And I really am going to avoid Newark. I'm going to have to tell my travel agent, route me another way, put me on a different airline. I don't want to go to Newark. And it's kind of some scary stuff there. Anybody else feel the same way? Any of you flyers out there, have you ever had one of those crazy moments of flying that you go, wow, we should have upgraded the system? Love to hear your story. Put it in the chat room. All right, we're shouting out small businesses, Noah's Nursery and Gardens in Edwards, Missouri. Noah's Nursery and Gardens in Edwards, Missouri. It's Small Business Appreciation Month or week. Donald Trump has declared it, and I am giving you the opportunity to shout out any small business in America. Arloa from the great state of Texas says, our family built and operated the Cold Stone Creamery in Canyon City when we were in Colorado. Hello, Canyon City. Serve a lot of prisoners there, Arloa. Did Tim McVeigh or anybody ever come over? I don't know who's down. That Canyon City is the prison place. It's where the Supermax prison and a lot of Colorado State penitentiaries are there, and federal pens are there as well. Her family owned and operated the Cold Stone Creamery in Canyon City. When they were in Colorado, we won first place for being the best in the entire country. I hope they haven't screwed up the Cold Stone in Canyon City. Anybody watching in Canyon City, make sure that the family that now has the Cold Stone has not screwed it up. It used to be the best Cold Stone Creamery in America, and somebody might have screwed that up. I hope they didn't. If they did, Arloa, I know people. We'll take care of it. We got it all handled. Well, Chad knows people. I don't know people. He knows people. He knows everyone. All right, shout out your small business. Put it on the screen. Love to have you to do that indeed. Speaking of going to Africa, I just said I was going to go to Africa soon. I need to get there probably the next 30 to 45 days, to be quite honest. I've got to figure that out. But you have a chance to support our work in Africa, and it's coming up this 1 week from this Saturday. It's May the 17th. It's at the Omni Interlaken Hotel. It's our casino gala. Somebody said, well, I don't like to gamble. Well, you're not gambling. You're having fun. The dealers there are all instructors, and so with admission, you get a handful of fake chips. They're real chips, but they're not valued. There's no cash value, and you go play. There's door prizes and drawings throughout the night, and Frank Sinatra is going to be there. Not the Frank Sinatra, but a guy named Derek Evil Sizer. I believe he's the best Frank Sinatra entertainer in America. He'll be there. It's just 7 o'clock. People start getting there by 6:30, 6:45. a cash bar. You bring your own money for the bar. I'm not buying all your drinks. I will buy your food, though. You register. We have some great food there for you. And it's casino night. It's just going to be a great time. There's a poker element as well. If you'd like to play in the poker tournament, that's going to be. And again, it's all for fun. And it's all for fun. And any proceeds raised will go to our work in Rwanda. And right now, our goal that night is to raise, and it's a hefty goal, I understand, because this is not a big event. We'd like to raise about $50,000. Now, some of you go, well, I'm not going to go because I can't give you that much. No, maybe just buying a ticket counts towards that $50,000. Bidding on a live auction item at the event counts towards that $50,000. There's a chance to, go and just make a special donation that night. $25, $2,500, doesn't matter. We have survived as a charity, not by big, massive donations and big trust funds, but we have survived as a charity by an average donation of $26 for a year. So anyway, I hope you'll be there. It's coming up May the 17th. There is still space available, and I push it with a little bit more emphasis, or maybe we just say emphasis differently, because the price is about to go up for this thing. It's going to get more expensive, and which is fine. It goes to the bottom line, but I ain't trying to milk you for all you're worth. Come see us. May 17th. It's a great event. It's going to be, good Lord willing. We were there yesterday. It's raining, but it's in the pavilion there, so it's kind of almost open air. And there's fire pits, overlooks the pool. It's a beautiful resort facility, and it's in Broomfield, and we'd love to have you. It's presented by Budget Home Supply, our friends at Budget Home Supply in Longmont. The Angelos, Vanetta Angelo, and the crew there, we appreciate them supporting what we do there. Budget Home Supply. And we'll see you May 17th. Go register, riverspromise.org, riverspromise.org. Now, some of you, I recognize, are not in town, or you're not available, or you're just stubborn and not going to go. Would you do this? Between now and would you go to your computer or write us a check, mail it in, and just put casino donation? And we will count it towards the $50,000. So wherever you're at, even if you're not flying in for the casino night, we would love to have a check or a donation. You can donate right on our website, riverspromise.org, riverspromise.com, and you can make a donation. And in the notes, you can just put, gonna miss casino night, but I'd love to donate anyway. And we will count those donations towards the count that we have for that night. But it's gonna be a fun event. There's no pressure, no arm twisting. There's no altar call for money, nothing like that. There'll be short presentation, a lot of fun, and hopefully you'll just be joyous and want to participate and have a good time with us. Riverspromise.org. Get signed up. Get signed up. Get signed up. All right. What else do we have? The air traffic control worries. We're going to come back and talk about those in just a bit with Jay Ratliff, our aviation and travel expert. We're also giving out shout outs to small businesses across America. It's Small Business Appreciation Time. So if you've got a small business that you appreciate, maybe you're the owner of the small business, we would love to hear from you. Just type it in on the platforms, whether you're on Rumble. Rich says it's totally unbiased and self-promoting. Long's Homestead Market in Edwards, Missouri. Being that his last name is Long, I'm sure that this is self-promoting, which I don't. I call everything I have the House of Lakey. Listen, I'm the king of self-promotion. It hasn't worked out that well, but I've tried to promote myself as much as possible. Rich, it's called Long's Homestead Market in Edwards, Missouri. If you're in Edwards, Missouri, go to Long's Homestead Market. If you're in Pueblo, go to see the old stomping grounds of Arloa at the Cold Stone Creamery. See, we're making progress. We're building a field trip up for many of you. Long's Homestead Market, Edwards, Missouri. We're glad to participate. Where's Edwards? I got to look that up because I'm in Missouri seeing my son. He goes to college there. I got to look it up and see where Edwards is at. Maybe I can stop by Long's Homestead Market because I'm that kind of guy. I like Long's Homestead Market. All right, Small Business Appreciation Week. Love to have you give a shout out to your small business. There's more judicial interference. Anybody getting sick of these judges? Our justice system has become, and I hope the Supreme Court jumps in here real soon, because a judge has jumped in and put an injunction on the President Trump's administration, and it's an Obama-appointed judge. And the Obama-appointed judge has said you cannot dismantle certain agencies. Previously blocked Trump from implementing a federal funding freeze. And so now when they want somebody to block President Trump, they go to this judge and they say, could you block President Trump again? And this is an Obama appointee, and he blocks President Trump. Now, I need to ask John O'Connor when we have him on in about 15 minutes from now, how it is that these judges keep on interfering, and at which point is the Supreme Court going to jump in and say, knock this off. But right now, our judiciary is a joke, and it's just amazing to see how many injunctions of things that other presidents have never been bothered to, never been hassled for doing, and yet at every block you have these tyrants in black robes coming out and saying that Donald J. Trump can do that. What was the Mark Levin book called The Men in Black or something like that? Well, they're problematic. These people are problematic, and I hope the Supreme Court can rein this thing in, but there's more judicial interference. And this is how the Democrats are trying to stop the Trump administration from marching on, is they're trying to just block him in the court. Obviously, the Democrats, the bat crap crazy Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Jared Polis, and Nancy Pelosi types, they cannot win a national election right now. They're very, very unpopular. Their policies, their attitudes, everything they do is very unpopular. And so the only way they can win it is by now going to the judges and trying to get judges who are radicals to block the agenda. But I think it will ultimately backfire on them, because when you're trying to block the agenda, I said yesterday that the stat is out there that Mark Penn, Democrat pollster, said that if you put the Trump agenda out there for a survey, out there for a poll, it actually does quite well. People like what Donald Trump is trying to accomplish at the border, at crime, with the economy. People go, yeah. But when they poll it and they say, do you like Donald? If they say, do you like this, and they leave Trump's name off of it, people seem to be okay with that. They like it, like 70-something% approval rating. But the moment you add and say that it's Trump's policy, the same policy, you just put Trump's name on it, it goes down to about a 50% approval rating. So there is a lot of Trump derangement syndrome out there. And these judges are showing their Trump derangement syndrome as well. And it's quite sad. So it's fascinating to watch this whole thing unfold, but I hope the Supreme Court can jump in here soon. And we will talk to John O'Connor, legal guru, coming up in about 15 minutes. He's scheduled to be with us, and hopefully he can let us know how long this is going to go on. I'm guessing it will come to a head because so far when Trump has gone before the Supreme Court, he has been victorious. It just sometimes takes a while for the Supreme Court to jump in there and solve this problem. But we got to get this problem solved. Indeed, we do. All right, I mentioned the unpopularity of policy. We dove into this yesterday, and somebody asked me if I could go through it again and post it. Unfortunately, it's behind a paywall. These newspapers want you to pay for everything, and I'm just not going to subscribe to everything. And the Gazette's a great rag. It's a great publication, but I wanted to read and post the link up, and to me, it's behind a paywall. I'm not sure if it is for you. So there's no need for me to put this out on my Facebook page, facebook.com/Jimmy Lakey fan page, or to put this out on my Twitter feed if it's going to cost you money. If you want to go find it at the Gazette. But this is a Sunday perspective that appeared, an editorial piece that appeared April the 27th in the Gazette. It used to be the Colorado Springs Gazette. Now it's the Denver Gazette. And I think now it's just the Colorado Gazette. But it's gazette.com. I think you can find it. And it outlines the policies of the state of Colorado that have caused Colorado, and the same policies are affecting other states as well. But I can speak to Colorado. So somebody asked me if I'd post this up from the Gazette. And I can't because I don't want to put it behind a paywall and then you have to pay for it. But let me just give you the clue here. This is a report card, and we went through some of these of what has happened in the state of Colorado in the last, let's say, 6 to 8 years. The reign and the rule that will ever be a dark spot in Colorado history, the rule of Jared Polis, the idiotic governor that we have been cursed with by idiotic voters. Elections have consequences, kids. They really do. But let me share some of the report card of Colorado, and this may sound familiar to many of you. Long ranked as one of the top 5 states for economic performance, Colorado has now, so when Jared Polis took over and the Dems took over the supermajorities in the state House and Senate, we were known to be one of the top 5 states for economic performance. Colorado has now dropped to the bottom 10 by last year. Economic performance, Colorado is now in the bottom 10 performers of economics in the entire nation last year under the rule of Jared Polis. And yet he thinks he's done a great job and wants to run for president. Let me give you some more information, some facts, ma'am, just the facts. Income, personal income growth fell from 3rd in the country to 39th in the country. So your ability to grow your income used to be one of the third in the country, top three. And between 2018 and 2024, the rule and reign of Jared Polis, Lord Polis, we have gone to 39th despite some of the world's highest minimum wage mandates. In America, we have those, but we're still doing crappy when it comes to personal growth income. Colorado ranks as the 5th least affordable states for housing in America. You know, think California, New York. Well, Colorado's right in there as well, one of the least affordable states to live in the nation. Regulation. The state of Colorado ranks as the 6th most regulated state in America, corresponding with slower business growth and innovation. So there's not as many small businesses here that are growing and being innovative because there's too many damn regulations under who? Lord Jared Polis, the tyrant, and his husband Marlon. They write rules and regulations that screw everybody up, and he has a legislature that does it as well. Colorado's experienced some of the highest inflation rates in the country even right now. We have outpaced the national averages, with consumer prices 15.4% higher today than they were in 2021. Does anybody want to argue that Jared Polis has done a good job and that the Democrats have done a good job with the state of Colorado? Go through these are interesting statistics. I'm going to do some more job growth. Colorado's year-over-year job growth rate, 0.17 from March of 2024 to March of 2025, compares to the national average rate of just 1.2%. Means that Colorado is 43rd in the country for job growth. Let me say that again. Colorado is 43rd in the country for job growth, a state that people would love to visit. They love to live here. And yet companies are not hiring here and companies are moving here because we're run by an idiot by the name of Jared Polis, and it's not a business-friendly state. Job growth is less than the national average, one of the worst in the nation. Crime. You think of New York, you think of Chicago, well, you better start thinking of Colorado as well. Crime rates surged after 2018. Colorado's average monthly crime rate exceeded 475 per 100,000 residents, and compared to the nationwide average of 374 per 100,000. So we exceed the national average when it comes to crime in Colorado. Why? Because we're run by an idiot named Jared Polis. Colorado used to be one of the top for in-migration states, but by 2025, we're now in the bottom 10. In other words, we're one of the worst 10 in the nation of people wanting to move to this state. The number of people living without homes has increased. The urban areas across Denver, Boulder, Aurora, Lakewood are facing visible crisis. Colorado Springs, the lovely enclave, you think of the home of Focus on the Family and conservative Christians, right? Well, there were bus routes they shut down because the homeless camps were so great in that area. Nobody wanted to sit at those bus stops and wait for the buses. It's a horrible situation in Colorado. But Jared Polis, the idiotic governor, would say there is no gang activity, no Tren de Aragua, and homelessness. Watch that. We don't know anything about that. Drugs. Hey, if you want to get doped up, drugs, and maybe even kill yourself on drugs, Colorado's a tourist destination for that. Ready for this? Overdose deaths in Colorado are some of the worst in the nation. Since 2020, from 2018 to 2023, there has been a 72.4% increase in overdose deaths. During the tyrannical reign of Jared Polis, who thought he could channel the Booger Cootie virus and was dictatorial enough and could tell restaurants you can only be open till 9:45 tonight because after that, the virus is going to get you. All of this said, there's been a 72.4% increase in crimes across Colorado and drug overdose death, I should say. Colorado has the second highest rate of teen fentanyl poisonings in America. That ain't something to be proud of, my friends. This is the state you live in. This is what your boneheaded, jackass elected officials have been tolerating back down to the state capitol and implementing every day that they're down there. The second highest rate of teen fentanyl overdose deaths. If you have a teenager, you might want to think about not living in Colorado. Because why? Because Jared Polis has created a very unsafe environment with basically decriminalization of a lot of drugs, the way they do bond reform here is ridiculous. And so therefore kids are being poisoned, and the second highest death rate as far as fentanyl death rate and poisoning rates among teenagers in America. Anybody think Jared Polis is doing a good job? Hey, America, does this sound like the guy that you want to be the president of the United States? This is the buffoon that thinks that he's called himself a libertarian. Matter of fact, I think it was Reason magazine, which is a libertarian kind of rag, that used to call him a libertarian. And I think they're now renouncing their own editorials and say, oh, no, he's not a libertarian. We meant to say communist. That's what they meant to say. This is Jared Polis. Anybody out there listening saying, wow, we'd like Jared Polis to come to our state. If you would, we'll trade you. We'll trade you. Public approval. Ready for this? The 2024 Colorado Political Climate Survey shows only 33% rate the economy positively. So it's not just me, not just a talk show host behind a microphone with the dulcet tones. No, only 33% of Coloradoans say we have a good economy in this state. The partisan divides, there are 52% Democrats say we have a good economy, but they're idiots. Democrats are idiots. You know you are. I mean, look at who you elect. Look at who your leaders are. You're idiots. Yeah, I don't have to be nice anymore. I've been unleashed from the confines of nicety. You're idiots. You put up with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. You put up with Jared Polis and called him your Lord and Savior. You allow the party to stick Kamala Harris in there as your candidate, overriding the will of the people. You're idiots. You're just freaking idiots. Just deal with it. It's part of your voter registration. You're idiots. You allow Joe Biden to poop his pants, crap his pants, his son to do cocaine and fake art in the White House, Jill Biden to attend the cabinet meetings, him to pardon Dr. Fauci, and you go, oh, he's our Lord and Savior, Joe Biden, and he's just a crazy old guy. You're idiots. 52% of Democrats, only 52% of Democrats in Colorado say it's a good economy. So even 48% of Democrats go, yeah, it still sucks under our guys. Yeah, it does suck under your guys. Based on the data compiled by the University of Colorado Boulder, again, averaging 33% of Coloradoans say we have a good economy. Here's a sick one. And this is where the Democrats are not just idiots, but one day I don't want to stand before you when you stand before the Lord. The Colorado Department of Health and Environment reports abortions have increased by 65.5% increase in the last couple of years. Because we have a state legislature that passed bills that we have some of those liberal abortion procedures eligible in America. Basically, you can, up until the day of birth, sliding down the birth chute, baby, you can stab that baby in the head, abort it, that's fine. And they have celebrations for it. They call that health care. Some of us call it genocide. But hey, it's 65.5% increase. That's something. Isn't that amazing? And Democrats celebrate that. Anyway, those are some of the stats from the state of Colorado. I'm sure many of you are now opining and saying, God, I would love to live in that. As Jeff says this, let me read the screen. With stats like that, might just slow the exodus. Polis is doing a great to help wake people up to their inherent conservative nature. You want to have some real fun. I mentioned this a couple of weeks ago, too. Most of the recent, I haven't checked this week. Facebook post by Jared Polis, our idiotic governor, our jackass governor. I mean, he's just a real buffoon is what he is. He's an embarrassment to the state. I think in 100 years, we look back as one of the darkest parts of Colorado history. I really do. That's how bad he is. Go to his Facebook page and read the comments. He is not getting, he ain't getting an easier road. Either Coloradans are waking up, because only 33% of Coloradans say we're in good shape here. That's Republicans and Democrats, only 33% across average. Go read. He's not getting a free pass here. He is getting his ass handed to him, and not in the way that he usually likes that. So it is a beat down for him. John Hickenlooper's also. I checked his Facebook feed the other day, and old Hickenlooper's getting some pound in there as well. Hickenlooper's been called a liar, a farce, a fraud. I mean, Hickenlooper, if you think of it, has no qualifications. He's a laid-off geologist who came up with a beer brew, started a bar, and then put some money in with funny ads to become the mayor of Denver. Wasn't even a good mayor of Denver, and somehow parlayed that into a gubernatorial run and a Senate career. And he's an idiot. Name one accomplishment longstanding in the state of Colorado or in the U.S. Senate that even a John Hickenlooper, who's our U.S. Senator, has accomplished. There is nothing. He's accomplished absolutely nothing. All right, let's do this. Let's take a commercial break here. It's that time of the program. We give a shout out to some of our great sponsors. And ladies and gentlemen, we'll come back. John O'Connor scheduled to be with us. Yeah, those are the greats from the state of Colorado. Yeah, it ain't looking good, Colorado. Jared Polis is destroying this place. Yeah, it ain't looking good, is it? And I'm just being honest with the rest of the nation. Yeah, being honest with the rest of the nation. These people are Democrats, and they say they're the merciful ones and the great ones. They destroy everything they touch, and that's what's happened in the state of Colorado. Everybody stand by. Lakey, good morning. I'm unleashed in the house.
1 Hour Heating and Air Conditioning is on call 24/7, even on weekends and holidays. We pride ourselves in our on-time guarantees. In addition to installation and repairs, we offer maintenance services. So no matter when you need us, you can always count on 1 Hour Heating and Air Conditioning to keep your system running. Check out our family of brands for all of your service needs, including electrical and plumbing.
1 Hour Heating and Air Conditioning.
I'm an ex-drug dealer, and I'll be your sub today. Two milligrams of fentanyl can be lethal. A lethal dose is in here. Who gets it, I won't know.
It's cheap, it's potent, and it's profitable.
The sad reality is fentanyl is being mixed into everything now.
More kitchen now.
All right, here we are. Glad to have you here. Waiting for the arrival of John O'Connor, a legal expert and guru. He'll be with us here in just a moment. Jay Ratliff also joins us this morning, our aviation and travel expert. One more story on this Colorado thing. The report card under House Bill 1286, which passed in 2021, under the tyrannical handwriting of Jared Polis, commercial buildings over 50,000 square feet had to meet strict new greenhouse gas reduction targets by 7% to 2026, and it just ramps up all through the years. So owners are now facing of commercial buildings are facing compliance costs for retrofitting entire buildings and electrification, and that has now rendered Colorado less attractive to future businesses while oppressing their legacy counterparts. So these are the policies of Jared Polis, the supposedly libertarian. They misspelled it. They meant to say communist. They meant to say Marxist, is what they meant to say. Jared Polis signed a bill. It basically said, hey, over the next few years, you're going to have to retrofit your entire commercial building. If it's 50,000 square feet or greater, you're going to have to retrofit it to make AOC happy and to make sure that AOC can look at your building and need a towel and a cigarette because she gets so excited over it. That's what he said, and that's what Jared has implemented. And because of that, people are looking to Colorado and go, I'm not moving there because if I build the building, it's going to be more expensive. If I don't want to build the building, I just want to move into a building, we're going to have to retrofit it to make AOC and Jared Polis happy. And so screw it. We're going to go somewhere else. We're going to go to the state of Texas. We're going to go to Wyoming. We're going to open a business somewhere else besides the state run by the communist Jared Polis. We're not going to go there. And it's commercial real estate's really on the downcline here. And people that own businesses here are stuck. Their only option is to move their entire operations out of the state of Colorado or to start retrofitting their buildings to make Jared Polis and AOC happy. Again, this is the tyranny of Jared Polis, and never let it be forgotten the type of leader that he is and the type of leader that he has become and the hell that he's led this state into. We're waiting for the arrival of John O'Connor, aviation and travel expert. Jay Ratliff's coming up next as well. John O'Connor hopefully got the memo that he's coming on the show. Sometimes I think they schedule and then they don't tell John, but I'll deal with that later, and I'll deal with that behind the scenes. There's a story that I kept on my show sheet for the last week because I wanted to have a reminder. There's some certain things in the news that move so quickly, 24-hour news cycle. And so the reason I sometimes will come back and repeat the theme of Jared Polis, I don't want to be repetitive like Sean Hannity, just repeat and read the talking script, but I come back with a theme, not a specific point, and say, this is a problem. This is a problem in Colorado. And there is a story that was a flash, and I think I probably made a bigger deal of it than anybody because I think it was a very important story, and I've kept it on the show sheet for a week. And I wanted to see and remind myself that, hey, this story shouldn't go away. This story should not be forgotten. And it is what happened last week in the cabinet meeting with Donald Trump when Robert F. Kennedy Jr. said that the Biden administration through Homeland Security had been a vector for child trafficking and had collaborated with child trafficking. And it was a story that I think was overlooked vastly and largely. It's a story that the mainstream media doesn't want to tell you. The fact is, we've heard that there's missing kids, right? There's missing children, right? 300,000 of them are missing. They don't know where they're at. They came across the country, across the border. They showed up here, and some of them were unaccompanied, and they were given over to ICE and the FDA and the HHS and all these organizations, and they handed the kids over, and the kids were then dispersed across America. These unaccompanied minors were dispersed across the country to adoptive or protective homes, and yet they don't know where they're at. This is something fascinating. Again, this is a story from last week, but outside of me talking about it, you haven't heard it again. Here's what, let me read the quote from the meeting last week. Thank you for your extraordinary leadership over the past 100 days. We are already making America again. Kennedy said, we announced last week the ban on the 9 petroleum-based synthetic dyes. Food dyes, 2 years within 2 months, and we're going to ban the worst 2 of them. I'm working with Secretary Rollins on dietary guidelines, the guidelines that the Trump administration, the Biden administration gave us 453 pages. They're basically unreadable because Biden's an idiot. He didn't say the idiot part, but we know that's true. And then Kennedy continued with more. And again, I'm highlighting the story again because it's already fallen off the news. It's already gone. It's disappeared. Kennedy continued in the cabinet level update. He did about the SNAP program, which is the welfare program. And with the SNAP program, we want to remove sodas and candy from the program. And with the EPA Administrator Lee Zeppelin, we want to change the federal fluoride regulations as well. So all these things you expect from the Health and Human Services Secretary, Robert F. Kennedy. But then this is the part that is stunningly did not get any attention. And I don't know anybody, Fox News, Newsmax, anybody that's doing any follow-up on this. And tell me I'm wrong. I hope I am. Quote, we have ended HHS as the role as the vector, the principal vector in this country for child trafficking. This is a quote from a cabinet level meeting that I don't think anybody in the media has done any follow-up on. Quote, we have ended Health and Human Services as the role of the vector, as the principal vector in this country for child trafficking. That right there ought to scare the heebie-jeebies out of you. But you have a cabinet level officer saying, hey, my department prior to I getting here was the central vector. We're the principal vector in child trafficking. It wasn't the cartels. It wasn't Tren de Aragua. It wasn't the mafia. It wasn't MS-13. It's the HHS that's child trafficking. And here's the quote. During the Biden administration, HHS became a collaborator with child trafficking and for sex and for slavery. We have ended that, and we are aggressively going to try to find these children. 300,000 children that were trafficked and lost by the Biden administration. You say, how did this happen? Well, in November of 2024, there was a whistleblower from HHS. This is right around the election time. Said Biden and Harris claimed that they had created a white glove delivery service of children. That was what the whistleblower said before the hallowed halls of Congress. The media never reported it. That Joe Biden had created, quote, a white glove delivery service for children in which the Department of Homeland Security, DHS, would take custody of UACs, which are unaccompanied minors, alien children, unaccompanied alien children. DHS would take them, and then they would hand them over to HHS. This was according to a whistleblower. And during the testimony the month before, 2 subcommittees at Homeland Security, Tara Lee Rodas detailed the process by which the Department of Homeland Security takes the custody of the child and then they're handed over to HHS, which places them with adult sponsors in the U.S. The whistleblower continued to note that the children were preparing to work grueling overnight shifts in slaughterhouses. The HHS handed them over to work shifts in slaughterhouses, restaurants, and factories. Some children may die today in jobs they don't have the knowledge or skills to do because they have to repay the never-ending debts of their smugglers and traffickers. The whistleblower said many of the children handed over to protectors by HHS are now being sold for sex. For the last decade, HHS has been responsible for suffering of countless children, according to a whistleblower. And is the media reporting on this? Did they report on it in November? No. Did they report on it last week? No. Are they reporting on it now? The answer is they're absolutely not reporting on it now. And that's not a good thing. I just keep that on the show sheet because I wanted to see if anybody's still talking about this thing. Is anybody still talking about the HHS, especially under Biden, trafficking children, handing them over to protective adults? And whistleblowers say, yeah, they're protective adults. They're working slaughterhouses, they're working factories. They're sex slaves. And Kennedy says we're trying to find 300,000 kids. Joe Biden and his administration, it is not hyperbolic, it is true. The party of the Democrats turned a blind eye on this. They're complicit fools in the media, turned a blind eye on it. They have trafficked and lost 300,000 children of God's kids. They're missing, they're lost, and Kennedy says we're trying to find them. And some of you still vote Democrat, don't you? Some of you still vote Democrat. And again, I rest my case about your intellect. I mean, I kind of get tired of being nice. I mean, you watch old Jasmine Crockett AOC and the face of the party, and that some of you keep that registration card in your pocket and you're still a proud D. Well, I think the D stands for dummy. I'm sorry, not in the mood to put up with it today. Not in the mood. I guess John O'Connor's not going to be there, but I'm going to keep that producer. Don't think craziness of me. You probably already do. When you see that for the next week or so, I'm going to keep that reminder on the show sheet because I really think that I'm the only guy probably talking about that story still. I have not seen it, heard of it since I talked about it on the program last week that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. announced that Homeland Health and Human Services was taking children from the Homeland Security in a white glove delivery service, handing them over to protective adults. And whistleblowers are already telling us, hey, when you hand them over to those protective adults, those are smugglers. They're sex slaves at that point. They're working in slaughterhouses. We don't know who they are. They don't know where they're at. A lot of them are dead, disposed of. But the value of life does not happen with Democrats. They don't value life before you're born. They don't value life if you cross the border. They just do a white glove delivery service and traffic you anywhere they want for their own personal hedonistic pleasure. It's what it sounds like to me. I'm not in the middle of it, so I don't know, but I'm just giving you observation from that I can. All right, it's a Small Business Appreciation Week, and our Loa is giving a shout out. I see in Longview, Texas, the Butcher Shop. It's a favorite burger place in Longview, Texas. That sounds good. A good burger. Now, I'm not going to go that rabbit trail. Don't tell me your favorite burger spot, but Longview. It's been a long time since I been to Longview. Jeff comments here, what? Kyle Clark, 9 News. He's a local reporter. Where's Kyle Clark when you need him? Mainstream media remains silent. Only progressives have a chance to continue the insanity. He's talking about the list of the Colorado operations that have gone on, that have happened, the way Colorado's being run. By the way, I mentioned it's VE Day. Does anybody give me the answer why we don't celebrate VE Day, Victory in Europe Day? Nobody seems to know. We should celebrate that. President Trump said we should. Europeans make a big deal out of it. We just kind of ignore it. We just kind of ignore VE Day, Victory in Europe Day, and I don't know why. Trump says we should support it. We saved democracy. We saved the world that 80 years ago. Especially the 80th anniversary of Victory in Europe Day, and it's kind of quiet. Matter of fact, I have a printout that I did of what happened in this day in history, and it's not on there. It does not appear. I mean, here's what does appear. This day in history, the formula for Coca-Cola was registered. Do you know right now there's 30 million gallons consumed daily, and Coke is the most understood word in the world? You can go almost anywhere and go Coca-Cola, and they'll know what you're talking about. It happens in Africa all the time. The president even has a button now. It's a Coke button. It brings in a Diet Coke for him when he wants to. So that was 138 years ago. So the Coke formula got registered on this day in history. VE Day is not on here, though. It's just not on here. 74 years ago, the polyester suit was introduced, the Dacron polyester suit. And so I go from 138 years on my sheet to 74. Missing 80 years ago is VE Day. I don't know why we don't celebrate it, why it's not on any list. You know, this year, 66 years ago on this date in history, 66 years ago was Little Caesars was founded, the little pizza company. 66 years ago, it'd be 1959. Oh, I saw this meme, and I'll have to find it, send it over to producer Chad for the meme section of the show sometime. 1981 was when Back to the Future, I think, came out. Supposedly happened, I should say. And they traveled back to, 1930-something, right? From 81, they traveled to 30-something. If we were to remake that today and base it in 2025, traveling back the same amount of time, we would be traveling back to 1981. Let that sink in. Yeah. Oh, there's this one. Oh, the same thing for this one as well. Raiders of the Lost Ark. It's the same thing. Raiders of the Lost Ark was made in 81, took place in 36. If they did the remake next year, it would take us to 1981. Yeah, we're that old. So Raiders of the Lost Ark, and there's a similar mathematical scheme on Back to the Future. Similar one. I saw that. Raiders of the Lost Ark was made in 1981, took place in 1936, and they did a remake next year with the same time gap. It would take us to that place in 1981. It's the same theory on Back to the Future. That's how old we are. Back to the Future has the same mathematics. That it's stunning how old we have become. Yeah, I still don't know why we don't celebrate VE Day. I just don't know. Pizza. Oh, yeah, pizza, Little Caesars. There's a reference. Out of context, but there we go. From on the chat room. 41 years ago today, so 80 years ago today was VE Day, Victory in Europe Day. You know what happened 41 years ago, which was 1984? Joni and Chachi got married. Anybody feel old yet? Joni and Chachi got married. All right, a lot of things to get to. I want to remind you about Sherry Cree. Sherry Cree. Oh, okay. Sorry, we got a notification here. Sherry Cree, homeswithsherry.com. If you are looking to move into or out of the state of Colorado, or maybe you're looking to downsize, upsize, you're looking at real estate. You're kind of trying to figure out what your next move is in life. Maybe you want to downgrade to a ranch-style home and you get rid of the upstairs. Maybe you need more room. Maybe you want a swimming pool in the back. I don't know. Everybody's got some different dreams, right? Sherry's going to walk you through all of them. And she wants to let you know that she approaches it in a way of not just a transaction one time. She wants to earn the right to become your realtor for life. She wants to be your realtor for your family so that your kids grow up. They call, Mom, we got to call Sherry. She's going to help us get our first home. She wants to be that integrated into all that you do. And she will work her tail off to earn that type of respect from you and your family. She also wants to sit down and have kind of a conversation and understand what you're wanting to do. She believes that if you play real estate right, you're going to end up creating generational wealth. You think it's just a place to live, but it can be generational wealth, setting your family changes their future even after you're gone. And she wants to help you make those decisions. She had one person, I've told you the story again, they thought it was time to sell, and she talked to them, they strategized, and she didn't hear from them again. She figured, well, they went with someone else. 2 or 3 years later, they called her and said, hey, Sherry, we're ready to do what we said we're going to do. She goes, oh, I thought you already did. They said, no, we took your advice. We thought about it. You're absolutely right. And now's the right time. And we're better off because we did what we stayed where we're at. And now it's time to move. Listen, again, 2 or 3 years later, people call her up. So maybe you're not really ready to put the sign in your yard right now. Maybe you're not really ready to buy that investment property, but have a conversation with Sherry. Homeswithsherry.com is her website. Homeswithsherry.com. Anywhere across that I-25 corridor from Castle Rock up to Wellington, Windsor. If you're in Fort Collins, if you're in Denver, if you're in Aragua, Boulder, Broomfield, wherever you're at, she'd love to meet with you. And homeswithsherry.com. Let me bring into the conversation our aviation and travel expert, our guru. It's Mr. Jay Ratliff. Jay Ratliff is out there, and here he is. Good morning, Jay. How are you, sir?
Doing very well. Pleasant good morning.
Pleasant good morning. Let's start with this Newark stuff, my friend. All hell's broken loose, and Secretary Duffy says it could happen again. Give me your take on this whole thing.
Well, I mean, it's brought on by a confluence of events in Newark. You have runway construction going on. That's going to be temporary, obviously. You have a shortage of air traffic controllers that's severely limiting the effectiveness of the air traffic control center. Now, it's not unsafe, but you have a lot of people that are working overtime. And oh, yeah, some of the technology they're using is like antiquated. It is impossible to believe just how old some of the systems are that the air traffic control network team uses across the country. So you have people that are exhausted, working overtime on equipment that is so far outdated, it's laughable. And there's a lot of stress. And oh, yeah, by the way, the technology failed us the other day when air traffic controllers watching the radar, boom, everything went away. They could talk to planes, they just couldn't see them. Wow. Eventually got it back a number of seconds later, but some very, very anxious moments for 30 to 90 seconds there as they were trying to determine, A, what was going on, B, what they were going to do, and was really creating a lot of angst. Then you have the president of, or CEO rather, of United Airlines, Scott Kirby, coming out saying that they're going to have to reduce their flight activity by at least 10% in Newark because of these issues, and they may have to increase it. He was also asked how long before some of these changes that are necessary can be enacted. He said, we're looking at years. So if you're United Airlines frequent flyer, as so many people are, I mean, I'm being told by people, Jay, I'm not going anywhere near Newark. I'll go to Houston. I'll bounce back to Denver or Houston to get to where I need to go. But the idea of trying to make my cruise to Europe or whatever happen, as I was hearing from some people this morning, going through Newark, is going to be problematic because some of these delays are 3-4 hours. The cancellations are mounting up, and it's a headache that clearly there's no end in sight. And that's what's creating a lot of problems. And yeah, if you're United Airlines frequent flyer going through Newark, I totally understand the concern.
I'm trying to the next 30, 45 days head to Africa, and I often get routed through Newark. And it's not a new problem in Newark. I think I mentioned this to you last year. I know I told my listeners and viewers that last November I'm sitting bulkhead and I'm facing the flight attendant with a 2 or so hour delay on the tarmac. And we're just kind of staring at each other because she's in her jump seat and I'm facing her. And I said, we're going to make her flight because I had connection. And she says, I hate coming. I hate coming from flying through Newark. I hate it. She goes, it's always, she said, there's something wrong with the control tower here. We don't know what it is, but it's always this way. And sure enough, I had to run to catch my flight to Kigali because we were 2.5 hours late from there. It's awful.
Yeah, it happens. And what takes place many times is that Northeast corridors, sometimes will get so congested that the FAA will issue the ground stops where they will tell planes, hey, you can't leave from Cincinnati, you can't leave from Atlanta, don't take off from Miami or Cleveland headed for the Northeast until we thin out the herd, so to speak, and then we will allow you to take off. And that's the issue is it's, I'm hearing a lot of people say, Jay, it's unsafe. No, it's not unsafe, but it's less safe than it should be. And we've got to take the necessary actions to increase that as much as possible. And I love the fact that President Trump has publicly stated that one of his priorities continues to be upgrading the air traffic control system with the proper technology. I've heard politicians for decades say the exact same thing. And yet when it came time to actually allocate funding to make that happen, crickets, nothing. Nothing ever happened. They tend to get what money falls off the table. You get an FAA chief that lasts like 8 months and they're gone on average. So there's no sustained leadership at the top. There's no real desire to try to upgrade that system as it needs to be. So it takes a situation like this or worse where we start to say, we need to do something. And if President Trump is successful at pushing this through and upgrading significantly the technology that we have, to me, it's a lot like when he was president round one and he gave us 3 Supreme Court justices. I thought that's going to have an impact on our country for the next 20 years. I think a good impact. If he is able to make the necessary changes in aviation he's talking about, it will allow us over the next 2 decades plus to have a much, much more efficient, more well-ran, fewer flights in the air so we can get there and land, It's going to be great in so many ways if he can pull it off. And I hope he can, because not that he would ever get credit for it, obviously, but it wouldn't matter because, it is something that we've got to have happen. And I'm really hoping that it does this time.
Jay Ratliff is our guest. If you're listening later on the day, not watching the streamcast and to see the names on the screen, but you're just listening, Jay Ratliff on the podcast, aviation and travel expert, his website, jratliff.com. Jay, speaking of, we learn lessons the hard way, and sometimes it takes something like Newark to kind of wake us up. We have 2 commercial flights were forced to go around DCA Reagan International because we still have problems with these military aircrafts. We had a big accident a couple of months ago. Lessons have not been learned.
Well, you would think they were. In fact, we tried. You lose 67 souls. It happens because we have a helicopter in the wrong spot. The helicopters are ordered to have a completely different flight approach pattern, and it should have maybe not totally corrected the situation, but certainly resolved it to a big degree. And here we have not 1, but 2 flights, Delta Airlines and a Republic Airlines flight, both had to cancel their approach and landing and go around and come back because a helicopter that was transporting individuals to the Pentagon who wanted a scenic view on the approach had a helicopter in the wrong spot. So, Sean Duffy, furious as he should be, because they've taken the necessary steps of doing what was needed to properly increase the chances of safety in that area. And for people, for whatever the reason for those orders, and I think that's exactly how I would look at it, were disregarded, it becomes a big time problem.
Yeah.
So for me to see this, it's like, guys, if we've not learned our lesson now, what does it take if you've lost that many lives and we're not adhering to the new rules that are in place? So, and look, we know Donald Trump is someone that would take decisive action on anybody that disregards one of these the rules within the military. I would not want to be the person that was responsible. I'm not blaming the pilots because they may have been ordered to take that approach, and they maybe were just following orders. I don't know. We're going to have to wait and see, because that was absolute. Can you imagine had there been another accident there with another loss of life without us learning and honoring the lives of those that were lost by, learning from past mistakes? It's just absolutely insane.
Wow. Another big story in the news this week has been Real ID. It was finally implemented after 20 years. Colorado's been issuing Real IDs for about 12 years. Mm-hmm. Was the implementation day, which was, I guess, yesterday, was it as chaotic as they thought, or was it much ado about nothing?
No, the TSA indicated that they thought very clearly that they could see 20 to 25% of people flying did not have the appropriate IDs, and they encouraged individuals to show up extra early if you kind of fell into that bucket. And I think the TSA has done an incredible job, of making sure it was done in May, one of the slowest travel months of the year. Thank you for that. But also, they're going to work with people. It's a lot like you and I've talked about it. If you're flying to the West Coast and back, you lose your billfold in San Diego, you come back to the airport, whoops, I don't have any ID, I'm not going to get on a plane. No, the TSA will work with you. It's going to take extra time. They've got their procedures to go through. You're going to have some extra screening, I promise you're going to go through. But they're going to get you on the plane if they have time. So they're a lot easier to work with than a lot of people imagine. And that's one of the reasons, as we move forward with this, they're going to continue to work with people up until a point that we're going to pass that point of no return. And it's going to be, okay, everybody, we've got to have our act together. Colorado was one of the states that early on had their homework turned in, if you will, in time. Yeah. Because remember, 2005, states were given 10 years up to 2015 to get everything in order. And a large number of states simply were incompetent. It was not something they had as a priority, and they kept asking for extensions, and it was moved from 2015 to 2020. We had the pandemic hit, it's moved back again, blah, blah, blah. But it was needed, because the TSA officers, instead of them being an expert on 50 different driver's license, thank you very much, now they have to be an expert on one. Makes it much more difficult for terrorists to forge an identification, and it increases our safety. I can't imagine anybody, being against it, but it's just something that was needed. And that's why in 2005 it was decided. I'm glad it's finally here. And now that we've reached the point where we can stop talking about it, we can hopefully move forward. Because look, I've been doing this for 33 years. 20 of those have been talking about this Real ID Act, and I'm ready to stop talking about it, my friend.
Well, it's unusual that Colorado seems to have some competence about it in our politics, but we got it done.
You did. I wish everybody else would turn their homework in on time.
That's unusual. It's a rare moment that we actually did something functional here in Colorado. Jay, what's it like traveling across the country? It's beautiful in Colorado where I'm at, but I hear out east is going to be a little problematic today, perhaps.
We're worried about afternoon and evening thunderstorms. Right now, there's not a whole lot that's slowing us down, other than, of course, some of the situations in Newark, which only intensify when we do have bad weather. But it's those afternoon storms that we're worried about. I think Charlotte and Dallas could have some issues as well as the Northeast. But right now, I think I can say, free of successful contradiction, it's the best day we've had this week to fly, which is nice because we've had some rough few days here of weather-related travel, and hopefully it'll continue. We can have some decent weather as we kind of move through this weekend.
Jay Ratliff, it's always a pleasure, my friend. Thanks for your time. JayRatliff.com, aviation travel expert. Check out his website. You may see some information about day trading there, but that's he's a prolific day trader. And you might even hear him on other shows out there talking about the stock market and day trading, but he's also an aviation expert, not just on my show, but networks across America. JayRatliff.com. Always one of the most popular and well-liked and received guests that we have here. And he's one of those that came over from my radio days on the iHeart Kingdom, and he followed me over here to be part of the Jimmy Lakey Unleashed program at the House of Lakey. Want to give you another reminder, my friends. May the 17th is our casino gala, and I'm putting out a challenge to you. I'm going to tell some stories this week about how we impact kids in Rwanda and build Legacy Christian Academy. But May the 17th is coming up a week from this Saturday is our casino gala. More registrations came in yesterday. We still have space. And if you register today, the price does not, I don't think the price has increased yet. I think we're still at base price. If you watch this show and it does look like it increased, if you do it today, I think it's tomorrow when it increases. Send us a message and we'll try to figure it out. But I want you to be there. We have two big fundraisers here. We fundraise all the time for our charity. We have a golf tournament in September and a casino gala in the spring. Last year, our casino gala couldn't happen because of a venue conflict. So we're a year and a half behind on this. So we're behind on fundraising, honestly, because we didn't do the casino gala. We had a private fundraising dinner, but it was a limited seater, and we raised a lot of money at it, but we still needed that casino gala last year. Hopefully, you can be a part of it. And it's all for fun. If you've never been a part of a casino gala, just pretend you're going out of town in Vegas and have a good time. There's going to be all sorts of machines there you can play. It's all for fun. There's no gambling. It's not like you're going to be dumping money. This is all just charity fundraising. This is all an exercise and just fun. It's all this is. There's a poker event. There's going to be drawings throughout the night, door prizes. So very likely you may get your number called, walk out of there with some really exciting things. And a silent auction portion of the show is going to be there as well. It's going to be a fantastical time. And it's a casino gala. And I don't think you want to miss this. If you do miss it, you have problems in the head. We just can't help you. If you have to miss it, you have to miss it. But would you consider something? Even if you can't attend, would you maybe donate? Maybe it's too expensive for you. Donate something. Maybe it's not too expensive, but you just can't go or not interested. Would you donate that same amount that you would normally pay to attend the event? And if you make a donation, our goal for that night, and we're starting it now, leading up to that night, it's raised about $50,000, which will help us with our food operations for pretty much the rest of this year, at least darn close to it. It'll help us with a lot of the rest of the year operation. And I'll be talking about some matching funds we have on the table at that event. And this is just OPEX. This is not even our CAPEX. We got to raise money for that as well. Operational expense. But if money's not the problem and you're not attending because you're out of state, you don't want to fly in, you're busy that day, high school graduation or something, would you do me a favor? Contemplate making the donation amount just as a donation for the registration fee. And again, just that same amount, that would help us get to that $50,000. And when you make a donation today, tomorrow, anytime between now and next Saturday, in there put casino or put gala, and we will know that we're going to apply it towards that $50,000 goal. So anything you donate, if you can't be there, If you can give $25, give $25. If you can't be there, give $2,500. Whatever the case may be, you get the idea. But help us out. We all join together and make this a very successful event. And again, Legacy Christian Academy. A lot of kids there, and a lot of none of them would be in school right now. Many of them would be dead, malnourished. That was our problem if it weren't for our school there. So I encourage you to make a donation. And we were talking yesterday with Steve Laffey about CEOs and nonprofit organizations. Guess what? Nonprofit organizations. This nonprofit organization doesn't pay a salary one here in the United States of America. In other words, I ain't making a salary off the Rivers Promise organization. So when you give the money, you're helping the kids. Bottom line. RiversPromise.org. Register for the gala or make a donation or do both. Love to have you. All right, here we go. Round and round the world we go. It's a stolen meme section of our show. Round and round the world we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. I'll describe this for those of you listening to the podcast only later on in the day. It's a big photo of Alcatraz, and instead of called Alcatraz, it's a blue and white sign. It says, "Welcome to MAGA-traz." MAGA. M-A-G-A, Make America Great Again, Traz. I'd love to have that sign facing San Francisco. Wouldn't that be great? Let the libtards there stare at that every day. Welcome to MAGA-traz. Ladies and gentlemen, round and round the world we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one really knows. Where do we steal this one from? Oh, Buc-ee's. Smoke has risen from Buc-ee's, indicating fresh brisket on the board. Fresh brisket on the board. They yell that all day. That makes me hungry. Yeah. Sometimes when I was with the evil empire, the radio empire, I had to drive by a Buc-ee's a lot of the time. My friend Benny calls it Busey's. And sometimes on the way home, I'd stop, or the way there, I'd stop. One time I bought all the salespeople breakfast burritos. It didn't help them improve, so I stopped bringing them breakfast burritos. But yeah, so Buc-ee's. Everybody miss a Buc-ee's. I love the Buc-ee's. Yeah, we have in Colorado now. There's going to be another one, too. All right, round and around the world we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. Here we go. It's the photo guy looking over the newspaper. I've got to stop saying, how stupid can you be? I'm beginning to think people are taking it as a challenge. Anybody feel that way? I do. Every time Delilah walks into my studio or the office, I say, how stupid can you be? And then she takes it as a challenge. And so I've got to stop asking Delilah the same question. She's not here right now because she'd be throwing something at me if she was. Ladies and gentlemen, round and round the globe we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. If you know, you know. Let's see. Okay, this is a thing. Oh, is this really a sign? Is that I-70 or I-80? It's probably I-70. Donner Lake, the Donner Party, famous party that ended up having to resort to cannibalism to survive in the Rocky Mountains as they headed expanded west. Evidently, at the Donner Lake exit 180, there's also a sign for a restaurant. Fork and Spoon are listed there. Yeah, probably not necessarily a great exit to have a restaurant on Donner Lake for the Donner Party. Donner Party, party of 16. Oh, we're down to 15. Never mind. Oh, down to 14. Somebody's hungry. All right, around and around the globe we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. Here we go. I don't want to party like it's 1999. I want to buy groceries, gas, and a house with land like it's 1999. Yeah, that'd be nice, wouldn't it? 1999. It was a good year. Year that will live in infamy. No, it's a good year. I wish we could. Yeah, the 99 cents around that time for gasoline. Right around the globe we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. We steal them from where? Ladies and gentlemen, we have milked the meme machine dry. It's like going to a dairy farm and getting mixed up with the bullpen. Ain't nothing in that teat. Ain't nothing in that teat. We've milked the teat dry. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a pleasure. RiversPromise.org is the website you want to go to register. I am the chief chat officer today, I see, and I have chatted enough for all of us to now we can go about our day. Don't forget, go to the podcast platform and subscribe to all of the shows. Jimmy Lakey Unleashed. And you can listen to the audio portion of this program. Thanks to all of our sponsors. We appreciate you. Corey Clinton, Clayton Lewis Financial Group. We love you as well. I miss you guys. They can't make it to the casino tonight. I'm sad. Looking forward to it. They got a birthday party for their son. Sherry Cree, thank you very much. If you'd like us to shout out to your business this week, or be a part of the show, send us an email, info@jimmylakey.com. I am Jimmy Lakey, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart. I'll see you tomorrow. May God bless you. May God bless America. Jimmy Lakey. Peace. I'm